I'm gonna complain as long as my voice keeps going. I gotta cook, and I gotta make myself a cocktail. This is El Dorado 8-year rum. It's like $20 here in Houston. Who knows where the sugar is from, but it's yummy. And for 8-year rum, it's a pretty good price. So, yum yum. Now, I'm going to be making a drink I call Mother's Milk. I will skip one part of the dialogue. I'm gonna skip the entire part of the dialogue. It's just called Mother's Milk. There's a funny joke. I'm not making this look better. Okay. And now I have to explain it. My mother breastfed me until I was 6. I think I was involved. I'm a known manipulator. And she's an attached type of person with her own deal. Anyway, I like making a joke about why that the breast milk thing is why I'm so advanced and intelligent. It's not. And it's not why I'm this way. It's not a Freudian thing. I think suburban infrastructure. My roommate came back. That was embarrassing. I had to. They know I do this. Anyway, so Mother's Milk, I'm incredibly intelligent, blah blah blah. Suburban infrastructure. Now this was more just because of socioeconomic blah 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 and yada yada yada, and the job she landed, which could afford to pay for the children and a house and the grow and all that stuff, and we survived the financial crisis while she was paying for a husband figuring out her life. My stepdad. And blah blah blah, yada yada yada. Middle class suburbia in Houston, Texas. With upper middle class white folk who are college educated, and I need to get this on the road. So, for oopsie daisies, don't worry about that. Rum. I had agave syrup because I'm lazy and it's fast and it's kind of yummy. This is from Costco. You can get 2 big old bottles for like 10 or 12 bucks, I forget. A Costco membership at this moment of filming, which is April 14th, 2026, is $65 a year. You're welcome, historians. So, we mix that in. Oh. And we get cinnamon. Cinnamon. Okay? Cinnamon. And you dump some cinnamon in there. What you're essentially doing is making cinnamon milk. I use soy milk because I like my bones to be brittle. And I don't feel like drinking dairy because it makes me farty or something. I don't know. Glug, glug, glug. You pour it in. If you want to be extra sexy and fun, you can do this all in a reformed olive jar. You close it up. Ideally, you have some sort of cooling mechanism, but alcohol, and it's fine. Not a perfect cocktail. but it's kind of yummy. And I made it in like 30 seconds while talking to myself. So, we deal. That didn't need to be on. I'm making a frittata. Well, I'm making a pan frittata in a dirty, stinky world. La 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 la. Russet potatoes, yellow potatoes also work. In a pinch, you can use red potatoes. You're going to want to scrub them. You're going to want to wash them. You can use a sponge or something else to get the dirt off. I just use my hands because I am strong and my strength is strong and shit. Right now I am trimming these potatoes of little things that I don't care about. And now, you see them? You can do this with a fork. I'm gonna do this with a knife. Swing, stab, 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 stab. Ooh. Blemish. We cut that off. Cut a little deeper to get it all out. And stab, 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 stab. We're gonna microwave these. Potatoes, microwave. Why am I gonna microwave them? Because I don't want to cook them all in a pan for 40 minutes. That will steam them. And if you are steaming potatoes or baking potatoes, I'm going to cook those for 8 minutes. Pressure builds inside of them. You will get pockets of pressure because the microwave will send energy into it and it'll create this really hot shit inside of it, and the steam is going to create a little pocket and it'll go, oh, I'm hot, oh, I'm hot, because water doesn't get hotter than like boiling and shit, but air is like, fuck yeah baby, I don't know. Anyway, steam can be hot as shit. So it builds pressure inside your potato, and then your potato goes blue. It's not catastrophic. It won't like destroy your life, but it's easy to stab it a couple times, so you don't have to worry. Why am I telling you why I'm microwaving a potato? Because we don't have home economics classes, and that's one of the reasons why a lot of my generation is really fucked up. Not all of them, but a number of them don't understand debt or how to take care of themselves and how to cook for themselves. And so they get DoorDash and they go into debt. When a lot of life, a lot of good life, is cooking for yourself and your friends and your other people and making beans and for like $2-3 and busting out with the boys and making cocktails with cheap shit. Like, that's how you have fun. If you want to be an artist and you're trying to figure out what you can do every day to train yourself, well, you can do art training. That's great. If you want to train creativity and train the process of doing stuff, you have a timer in yourself, and it's called hunger. And cooking is problem solving your hunger. And so figuring out what you like in life and then cooking it for yourself and doing the labor for yourself, for your loved ones, is not all that different from making something else. I could be smoking crack right now. Sorry, that last sentence didn't... I think it was supposed to be the sentence that, am I smoking crack? You know, when you're like, hey guys, fun little opinion here, am I smoking crack? And, another drink, slurp slurp. For your information, it is 8:39 p.m. I have fed my friends' pets because they're in Paris right now. And I am their brokest friend who they rely on currently. Yeah. I made falafel with them on Friday, which is, what I'm gonna garnish my pan frittata with. Cause they're in Paris, they were like, take all my stuff. So I got onions, which I already had onions. I got garlic, which I already had garlic. I got lemons. I didn't have lemons. I didn't need to do a face for that. And, parsley and cilantro. I'm not gonna put cilantro on this, I'm not a whore, but I am gonna use parsley. In high school, the drug kids used to ask me if I was high. I've taken 2 sips of an alcoholic beverage. I wasn't high in high school. I didn't know what drugs did. I had read about them. I had seen Stargate. Like in theory, I wasn't socially plugged in enough to have a plug or a dealer, so I wasn't getting zooted. And the nice version is that all the druggy kids wanted what I was on, because they're like, that guy's on some good shit. Which is ideally is what they were thinking of me. Besides, like, or, Jesus fucking Christ, I don't want to be like that. Let's avoid whatever that's... See, now that's a complicated problem. Regardless, I was a wonderful little man. And I still pretty much am, so kudos to me. I was gonna be a lot more dour. I was gonna talk about, like, the miasma that everyone's breathing and, like, you know, the trained apathy that people are, like, seem confused as to how to interact with their life and bring about, like, a good time and love and peace and hot, squishy sexual contact. And that shit was too deep for me. Oh, cooking resources. Salt, fat, acid, heat. Salt, fat, acid, heat. There's like a Netflix show, but there's the lady's loose idea is like balancing these 4 things. Essentially like, across a lot of cultures. It's kind of a vibe. You learn to balance things. You're like, it's not enough oil in this shit, we gotta add more. What's the oil do? It absorbs flavor. It heats shit, you know. Bop, bop, bop. What does salt do? It makes things more tasty. It gets into things. It preserves things. Jerky. What does heat do? Are we talking pepper? Are we talking fuego? I don't yabba dabba. Fuego o caliente. Acid. Limes. Yummers. And, yeah, balancing this whole equation. She talks about that in much more coherent terms. The potatoes are done. Stove on. We're going to shallow fry the potatoes. So, other recipes. Like easy ones, like even easier than this. For destitute single people, or people who are just really trying to start out and see, like, what can cooking do for me? I call it microwaved red potatoes. This is a recipe my dad mastered when he was divorced and had 2 children. And his 2 children would go crazy. I was one of those children. So what the recipe is red potatoes, the red ones, they're waxy and shit. Olive oil, you can substitute in other olive oil. Salt and garlic. You can add herbs. You don't have to. You cut the potatoes roughly equal in size. You salt them, you put the olive oil on, you put the garlic in, you put it in like a closed glass container. Get something that looks like that, kind of steam in there. Oh, I'm out of olive oil. I should buy that thing. I have more olive oil. Ugh. I enjoy this olive oil. It's like... It's also at Costco. So... red potatoes. Yeah, and then you microwave them. It depends on how many you have. Maybe you filled that little bowl you had up. You're gonna want to microwave them for like 5 to 8 minutes, and then you're gonna want to open up that lid, and there's gonna be a bunch of steam, and you're gonna be like, and then you're gonna stir them so that and then you put the lid back on and you put it back in. And then you microwave it for again, and then you pick it up and you do the steam, fucking dance again, and then you stir it, and then, or what you can do is, this is actually easier. You get hot pads or cloths, and you grab the little handles of the thing, and then you shake it. And if it has a lid, it all stays inside. So anyway, you distribute the potatoes within it after you've cooked them a little bit, and then you cook them more, and then you keep cooking them until some of them, at least for me, start wrinkling. A little bit of like, ooh, it's ready for death. Yum. Yummy, yummy. That can take a while. It can take like 15 minutes. It can take 12 minutes. It can take 20 minutes. Depends on how many potatoes you have and how much with that. And what power your microwave's on. Whatever. So now we're gonna cut these hot potatoes. Hot, 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 hot. And then we're gonna, oh my god, this is so high. And then we're gonna put our hot potatoes in our hot pan that's got that oil. Wow! I like making this meal with one plate and maybe one bowl because I don't like doing dishes. I might have to wash a cutting board today because I'm going to do a relish. Ideally, a salad goes pretty well with this. Maybe you suck it up. So yeah, and the cool thing about red potatoes, why I am so adamant about that recipe in particular, is that you will learn to salt your potatoes correctly. Not too much, not too little, you kind of learn where your sweet spot's at. Learning to salt things is important. Speaking of, I got kosher salt in a little pan, and I'm gonna salt my potatoes. And I'm also going to cut up some garlic. Yum! Now, the trouble with garlic and frying garlic, ask anybody, is this shit likes burning so easy. So if you're putting it into a pan and you're not putting it in water, it will go black right quick. So you want to be at low heat. I never cook at low heat, which is why I sometimes burn garlic. So that's why we're frying the potatoes before we fry the garlic. Ya. Comprende. So, this is not how you should prepare your garlic. I just do it in my hands because, again, I hate doing dishes. But, you know, I've had friends tell me that this looks dangerous, and it's really, if you're good and you don't cut yourself, it's not dangerous. If you cut yourself, it's your fault. So get better. And why'd you do that? Why'd you do you ride a unicycle every time you see someone ride a unicycle? Learn your limits and perform within them, and then train yourself up. If you have no knife skills, don't start juggling knives. Maybe juggling skills, I don't know. So, another thing that you should pay attention to in cooking is your senses. Are things shrinking? Are you smelling something burnt? Are you smelling something browned? When you I always put my hand right above oil. There's oil in that pot. I'm a bad boy. When I'm deep frying, I get my skin close to that shit. It's a very bad idea. You really don't want oil burns. I don't put it near it when they're stuffing it because deep frying is like Splattertown. It goes pop, 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 and gets shit all over you. And an oil burn is a rat asshole. Really doesn't feel nice. So I'd recommend against oil burns. If you have hot oil in your kitchen, be careful. this was my single Gamer Boy meal all throughout college. At least when I was living in an apartment. I'd be hungry at like 1 a.m. and I had to come out of my room into a party that I was half invited to. And people would be like, "Ooh, who's the weird little freak man who's in the kitchen?" And I'd be like, "I'm the roommate." And they'd be like, "Ooh, what you making?" And I'm like, "I'm making a frittata." And they're like, "Ooh, how'd you make? Ooh, it smells yum." And I'm hungry. You're drunk. I'm not the hired help here to entertain you. And they're like, "Ooh, that's a little antisocial." And I'm like, I'm playing Hearthstone, okay? I am not healthy. And then I talk about my Nazoth deck as an ult, just to see if they'd stick around and give me the time of night after that. And fellas, if you're ever trying to narrow down the herd, see who's still willing to freak your geek after a long night, talking about your 2-month meta that you're still pining for in Hearthstone, when the old gods got brought back and you could run 2 different Nazoths. And the Yogg Saron that like cost like 13 or 15 and got cheaper with spells, and the super OP. Hello. I'm talking about my Nazoth deck. There's a camera right there. Boopy boo. What you doing? Shoes? Nazoth. You don't know who Nazoth is, right? You're whispering now. I can see that or feel that. Nobody does. Point and case. Okay. So don't look at my floor. It's dirty. My floor is dirty. Okay. Mamma mia. I gotta prepare the relish, or whatever it's called. Okay. With this, I'm gonna do 2 eggs. 3 is probably about right. I've done up to 6 in a slightly larger metal pan for like 2-ish people. And I've made 2 of those for my family of 4 when I was cooking for my family. So what I do, you mix up the eggs, you put the eggs in after you fry the garlic, eggs, slide it onto the plate, flip the plate back into this, cooks on the other side, slide it back onto the plate, serve. Relish, ketchup, whatever, fuck it. There are only 2 eggs, so it's going to be fairly thin. I've dumped in my garlic, which was an absurd amount of garlic. I don't know if you can see. Look at all that. Wow. And that's some Italian seasoning. We have rosemary. We have things I could be using, but I'm not. Like fresh rosemary, okay. So, this is more important for the ones that have more eggs, but you kind of scoop in the sides and you pour the extra goop around the sides and keep scooping towards the middle and filling in the outs. And you want my sprinkle of stuff. Yum. And then give that a couple more seconds. There's still a little. If you have way more eggs, you're gonna be probably cooking slightly lower heat and for slightly longer. This is very thin, so it's gonna be fast. I'll also probably mess it up. So it's sliding around. So we take the plate, slide it onto the plate, and now here's the part that you always mess up. So you grab your plate, and you flip it back in. And if some part of it becomes mushed up, oh well. turn your stuff off. And so I had an absolute shit ton of parsley because I needed to use my parsley. There is lemon and balsamic vinegar in this. I did not add oil because the frittata is oily enough. So this is just going to be the salad that I scoop that into my mouth with. Yum. Okay. That's that. The drink doesn't match the meal at all, and I don't care. Ideal. Okay. That's dinner.